I'm Maureen Truax. Whenever as a writer you start to think about how a story began, you have to go back in your mind to when you first got the ideas for the story. Where it comes to my book, Arizona Sunset, that's a long ways back. I'm not even sure how many years. I had been in love with Arizona, the state, ever since I was first there in 1965. I had the opportunity to be there because my husband was going to graduate school. And with friends, we spent a lot of time out on the desert, and I got a lot of familiarity with all the different cultural aspects that are a part of Tucson and that area. And it is a very exciting area culturally, even today, because it has the Native Americans, it has the Hispanic culture, it has Caucasians. And that makes for an interesting energy in the valley. So in this particular story, I decided to set it back in 1883 because this was still a good time for interesting things. Arizona was still a territory. U.S. Marshals were a lot of the law that were used to keep order. And Wyatt Earp had left Tombstone. He had, and that's still a mixed story. You go to Tombstone today and you can still have different opinions on Wyatt Earp and exactly who he was and whether he was a good guy or bad guy. Geronimo, hey, even that's a difference of opinion in terms of, was Geronimo the important Native American figure that some think of him as being as an Apache leader, or was he just somebody that the media caught on to and created? But he was still out there. He had not yet sacrificed himself to try to give peace to his people, so he was still out. So it was kind of a dangerous time. There were a lot of outlaw gangs. There were a lot of people that had been one way and then became another way. This was kind of a common thing at this time. Men who maybe had walked on the wild side and then changed and became ordinary, well-respected citizens. So I started it out with my heroine, and she was a woman who was living in Tucson, and she was very much trapped by the conventions of her time. She felt totally as though there was no options for her. She was, even to what she wore, the clothing she wore was restrictive. It made no sense when it was hot to wear the kind of clothing she had to wear to be a lady. And she didn't think she really had any way to escape from that world. She wanted to, but she had no real way until she met him. And he's the opposite. That's the beauty of a story like this, because we often have these visually imaginative ideas on what the other side is like. She had one idea about him. She kind of wanted adventure, and then she'd go back home. He kind of wanted the life that she was rejecting. And so this is the story. This is the gist of it. That these two people, the American West, with all the adventures that are possible during that period of time, the dangers and the excitement, and Arizona.